All right. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Monday, November 18th special City Council meeting. Roll call, all councilors are present. We do need to take a look at switching this meeting from a special meeting to a regular meeting. What are the wishes of the council?
I'll make a motion to schedule the November regular City Council meeting for November 18th.
Second. Motion and seconded. Discussion? Bagley?
No.
Kelly? Aye. Lovewell? Aye. Morrow?
Aye.
Smith?
No.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
I make a motion to cancel the regular City Council meeting scheduled for November 25th, 2024.
I'll second it. Motion and seconded. Discussion?
So we were supposed to have our review of the schematic design for the police station on that date. So are we going to wait all the way into November before we get to see that?
At the next meeting, yep.
In November?
That would be December.
I mean, I'm sorry, December.
That would be December, yes.
Okay.
No further discussion. Bagley?
No.
Kelly? Aye. Lovewell? Sorry, aye. Morrow?
Aye.
Smith?
No.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
So we've canceled next week.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so do I have a motion to
Yeah.
adjourn the special city council meeting for this evening?
Yep. No, motion to adjourn the November 18th, 2024 special council meeting.
I'll second. Motion and seconded. Further discussion? Bagley?
No.
Kelly? Aye. Lovewell? Aye. Morrow?
Aye.
Smith?
No.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, now I'd like to welcome everybody to the Monday, November 18th, 2024 regular city council meeting. Roll call, all councilors are still present. For this evening, for the invocation and inspirational thought, Councilor Lovewell is going to share that with us.
Please join me in an attitude of prayer. We pray for our country at all times, that all citizens are safe, healthy, and happy. We pray for wisdom for all those who guide and govern. Help this government body in every situation to know and to do the things that are right and just with soundness of judgment and making vital decisions. We pray for the peacemakers, that the holy life-giving spirit may ever dwell in their hearts, and that the barriers of fear, suspicion, and hatred may fall. This we pray to the Holy Father. Amen.
Amen. Amen. If everybody would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I should sing after. Okay, before we move any further into our meeting this evening, I would like to make sure there's no declaration of any conflict of interest. Is there anybody who would like to declare a conflict of interest this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on. Item number 5 is the public forum. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak this evening? Danielle, did you have anyone send any emails in? No. Okay. Item number 6 on the agenda, under bid openings, awards, and appointments, is a consideration of the results of an engineering RFQ, and Gary Markey is here this evening to discuss that with us.
Evening, Madam Mayor, Council, Manager Thompson. We, the Rec Department Foundation, and our commission has gone out to bid, gone out for RFQs for the Caribou Pond project, which we've received $4.59 million from the CDS, Senator Collins's office, for funding from 23, and we are in the midst of getting a project manager for the project. This is a little bit too much for myself to handle this project. This is going to be a big project. We're going to basically transform Caribou Pond from what it is to what it used to be, and a few other amenities as well as we move along on this project. So sent out qualification bids, and they got 3 back: Avius Engineering, BRSA, and Sewell, incumbent Sewell. So They have all sent in their qualifications. Every single one of these companies, 2 of them are Caribou businesses, and 1 is in the Presque Isle area. All have done work for us in the past. Any one of these engineering firms would be more than qualified to do this project. So I sent the grading over to the commission, and they came back with the scores, and they all scored with Avius Engineering, but again, 2 of them were almost dead on. So that's how the commission has voted on the score sheets of the firms. And again, any one of these firms are going to do a great job. But I'm here to ask for permission from the council to reach out, if you so choose, to go with Avius to start the negotiations on a contract. And we need to, I need to get moving on this project sooner than later. It's already end of November, and soon it's going to be June of next year. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done in the background. There's a lot of permitting work, design work, and that sort of thing. So I've got till 2031 to spend the money, and we've had it since 2023. So I'm a little behind, I should say. I am a little behind. This is a bigger nut than we had anticipated. So I certainly need the help, and I need to get this off of my plate. So with that, does any of one of you have any questions about the decision the commission had?
What commission are we talking about?
Recreation Commission.
Okay. and
Or
they're made up
volunteer
of
recreation citizens. Yep,
Commission or
Yep.
committee
Yep.
within the city.
Yep.
Appointed by the council.
correct.
So is it necessary that we have to approve this?
I don't think so, because it's going through the foundation, the Recreation, Parks and Rec Foundation, but I just wanted to check mark all of our
Okay.
options and make sure that I'm not stepping on anybody's toes.
I, for one, would have liked to seen some material on the project in the packet here, or at least the scoring sheets or something.
I can send all that to you, not a
Okay,
problem.
Would you? Yeah,
Yep.
I'm sure it's fine, but I'd
Yep.
like to look at it.
Yep. A lot of reading, I'll tell you, a lot of
We're used to
reading.
that.
Well, it is city property. I mean, it's the
Yep.
foundation that applied for the grant, but it's city property.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is Avius a Caribou company?
Caribou, local company, yep. Yep.
So what was the difference in the score sheets? I mean, was there drastic differences? I mean,
No, Counselor Moore,
John,
more familiar, Avius we had hired them in 19, back in 19, to do some preliminary work, and once we started the ball rolling, so they were very familiar with the project, COVID showed up, and then the fish passageway is what slowed the project right down, and the price tag. We had to sit back and figure out how we were gonna get this money. That's when we applied for the CDS funding source. And so now we're here, now we just gotta keep moving forward.
is that funding source enough to cover the cost of the project?
It is. And there's other funding sources out there that we all voted on 2 weeks ago, the Main Trails Bond. Some of that funding can be utilized for a project like this, where there's going to be more walking trails around the pond. That is all monies that can be utilized with this Trails Bond funding. And that was a question that I asked today. I asked if we could put in a water trail. They would fund water trails. So if Caribou Stream ever becomes really, really active with canoeing and kayaking, we could extend that with this type of funding.
Is there any way to extend the scope of the project to go further down the river, I guess I'll say?
When you say down the river towards Aroostook,
Right.
there are plans in the works. There's multitude of area in that little stretch of stream
Right.
that we could utilize, we could do some things with, especially springtime. There's been talk about whitewater rafting during high water marks in the springtime. There's been talk about a zip line down through that area. So there are other recreational activities, but the money that we're gonna put towards the Caribou Pond will be for dam reconstruction, dredging, and putting in a fishway. The fishway is the one piece that's given us a snag due to the height differences. The height of the dam to the bottom of the river is 20 feet, very short. So we're working with Inland Fisheries, talking with them, talking to Army Corps. Can we utilize a natural fishway and not use a concrete fishway? If we did a regular concrete fishway, the preliminary looking at a regular concrete would start at the bridge here on South Main and go all the way up, because they have to have a spot to rest.
Yeah.
So if we can do it naturally with rocks and placing rocks in different areas, and we've had Inland Fisheries, one of their architects down there 2 years ago, and they would work with the natural style, which would cost a lot less than putting concrete
The only
down.
reason I asked that, my only thought process was because of the situation we have on Water Street. Okay, if there's some way that we can utilize something to help us clean that up, because if you think about it, all honestly, if those buildings come down, okay, and block that river, okay, then everything we've done to facilitate this project could be in jeopardy. So I'm just wondering if that could be considered a hazard to that project. I mean, I'm just thinking out of the box, okay, that's all. Don't get me wrong, okay, I think it's a fantastic project, but also trying to kill two birds with one stone. So anyways, that's just my thought.
Well, and I think on top of that, Penny's been working on looking into some of that with some funding that might help clean that up. But if everyone's on the same page with
Correct.
that and what's going on with the project, I
Correct.
think that'll be helpful.
Correct.
And some of this project hinged on the fact that you're able to, when you dredge the soil, we don't have to,
Correct.
we can just,
That was our biggest concern, was how dirty was this soils, contamination-wise. And when we did our study 2 years now with County Environmental, it came back that the soils were deemed clean. So they do not need to be landfilled. If they would have had to have gone to landfill, that would have taken all of this money.
it would have taken all of it.
Correct.
The project would be dead.
Correct. So the organic material layer is pretty impressive. And yes, there's people that are saying there's cars in there and there's tires, and there's probably a few. But the 7-8 spots that we tested that one fall, it's not as drastic as it is. We're looking at beneficial land spreading a lot of this material. So we're looking at, with local farmers, to put this material back on top of their crop ground and turn it back into soil that they can utilize. So there's a lot of moving parts, which there's too many moving parts for this person to be doing that and everything else that's going on with the rec center. So I need a little help.
I do appreciate the
absolutely.
fact that you've chosen to do that, because, I mean, we're looking at a police station project twice the size, and we, you know, as an aside to the rest of the council, we should seriously consider hiring a construction manager for that effort, for the same reasons that Gary has
No.
laid out. It's just, it's a lot to manage.
This is a big one. This is a big feather in Caribou's hat when it's done. This will put Caribou Pond back to where it was, the aesthetics wise and the recreational opportunities involved that are going to be able to happen there are going to be pretty impressive.
This project has been going on for a very long time, and
It has.
Gary, you need to, I mean, you said, you made it sound like you dropped the ball and it's been
No.
going on since 2023. It's not the case. There's been a lot of paperwork involved, there's been a lot of hoops you've had to jump
Yeah.
through in terms of procuring the funding, so it's not because anyone dropped the ball, it's just a long
just a-
process.
it
to be
is a
able
long
to
process.
Get
It
the
is.
funding in hand to start the
Yep.
project,
Yep.
so.
We have it.
You've done a great
We
job.
don't have it. We don't have it in the bank account, but we're to the point now that we can start drawing down the funds when we start spending. We have not spent a dime on any of this project just yet. This will be the first the first go-round.
So what happens after the contractor is selected?
Then
You said
we'll negotiate prices and then figure out.
So did their response to the RFQ include a proposal with
No,
pricing or
because
anything
I
like
just
that?
wanted qualifications
Got it.
at this point, get them on board.
So you'll
and then-
ask for a proposal and then, okay,
Correct.
very good.
Correct.
Thanks.
Yeah, so you'll probably see me again. Sorry.
Well, I think it'd be a good thing, because honestly, I don't see the reason for this, other than if I was looking at a price per person, okay? And then, looking at their score sheets and deciding, okay, cheaper is not always better. But I mean, I don't know, it's kind of irrelevant, I guess, in a way. But I mean, if the rec committee, not to go against them, but it would've been nice to see more financial information on the three. A basic proposal, I guess, on what they can do and how they could do it. I mean, that's my only feeling, but, I mean, this is a moot point. I mean, in all essence, without significant backup to back up the decision that the rec committee has made, I guess, so.
I, for one, feel that if the rec committee and the foundation have kind of vetted this and gone through this process, I'm comfortable with that personally.
Thank you. Any other questions for me?
What are the wishes of the council?
I would make a motion to approve the rec's recommendation for the project manager.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion?
I'm not sure I understand the motion.
Just to give our consent for him to move forward with the company that the rec commission and the foundation have.
Okay, I heard project manager. Is that what the motion maker meant? Project manager?
I don't think.
Or did you mean the
that's what-
project?
I don't
That's
know
what
that
it
that's what she said.
Because I think we want
Whoever's in
to
the
approve him
document.
to move forward with the project and not just the project manager.
Well, with the person that,
It says-
with the firm that he came
Correct.
to us
With
with.
the firm.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, so the motion is to approve to go forward with the firm that was selected.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Bagley,
Aye.
Kelly. Aye. Lovewell,
Aye.
Morrow,
No.
Smith,
No.
Terrio.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 7 is reports by staff and committees, and item number 7A is a presentation of our 2023 audit. And Giselle, did you want to come on up? I didn't know if you needed to come up as well, or?
Nope.
Okay.
Introduce her, but that's fine.
Wonderful. We have
Maybe,
Giselle McDonald
present
here.
From the 2023 audit book.
I can let you
Yes.
introduce me if you'd like.
Yes, Giselle
I
McDonald
know
from
some of
Selch and
them.
Company. Thank you for being here this evening.
Oh, you're welcome. And I want to thank Penny and Carl and staff for making the audit go very well and being so cooperative and pulling the information that we all asked for and answering our many questions. I see that you all have a copy of the booklet. I'm going to do a brief presentation as I usually do, but by all means, if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. The booklet should be numbered. So pages 1, 2, and 3 are what we call the audit opinion. That is basically the result of our audit. It's basically saying that the financial statements are fairly stated. The financial statements are management's responsibility, and our responsibility is to do the audit. And in a nutshell, that's what that opinion says. The next few pages are the management's discussion and analysis. This is a brief overview of the financial statements. I won't be going over that in detail. I'm going to skip right to Exhibit A on page 9. You'll find when you look through this, there's a lot of duplication in this report. Information is presented in more than one way. So, not my choice, but that's what we get to work with for standards. So Exhibit A is the statement of net position, otherwise called a balance sheet. It is showing current assets of 14.4 million, most of which is made up of cash. There's some uncollected taxes in there. Total assets are 32.4 million. You add in the buildings, the assets, the long-term type assets that the city owns, and that brings us to that figure. Total liabilities amount to 2.2 million, leaving us with a net position or a net equity of 30.3 million, 12 million of which is unrestricted. Any questions on that one? Exhibit B is the statement of activities, otherwise known as an income statement. Because it's a government, it starts with the expenses by function, so by department. We have total expenses of 17 million, which are offset by program revenues totaling 4.1 million. Some of those are charges for services, some of those are grants and contributions. That leaves us with a net cost of 12.9 million, which is then supported by general revenues, which includes your property taxes, federal and state, grant revenue, excise taxes, other general revenues of 14.5 million, leaving us with an increase in the net position of 1.5 million, bringing that net position to 30.3 million. Any questions on that one? Exhibits C and D present similar information, breaking it down by fund. We remove the long-term assets, the long-term liabilities, and it's left with basically cash and short-term assets and liabilities. Exhibits C, D, E, and F are information by fund, and then reconciliations of the first two presentations that I went over. Then we have pages 16 through 30 are notes to the financial statements. That's a much further discussion of the different financial statement items. And then on page 31, we have the budgetary comparison. This is just the general fund. We had budgeted revenues of 16 million, on which we collected 16.9 million. Has everybody found the page?
Page again?
Page 31.
Thank you.
You can thank Gary Aiken for the page numbers. He asked for those quite a few years ago. Makes it easier to
Sure does.
flip through. So we had, I'll start again. So we had budgeted revenues of 16 million, of which we collected 16.9 million. We had budgeted expenditures, again, of 16 million, and paid out 16.5 million, leaving us with an excess of revenues over expenditures of almost 400,000. And then we add back in the excess of appropriations and transfers into the reserve accounts over what was actually spent from them. So we're adding that back in. And that leaves us with an increase in the fund balance of $1.4 million, bringing us to 10.9 million carryover in the general fund. And the last thing, there are two additional reports starting on page 44. And these are in connection with the type of audit that we perform for the city. Because of the level of federal funding that you receive, we do a compliance audit for you. And there's two reports here. They're both clean reports, including opinions on compliance and internal controls. So that's what I have to present. Any questions?
So you've been doing this for a few years for us, right?
We have.
Have you
Long time.
recognized or noticed any trends in terms of changes in net position? You know, I mean, looking at this on a this year basis is a data point. I mean, how does that compare to previous years, and what's our trend looking like?
And that, I don't have that information with me.
Yeah. I was just curious.
Yeah, I wish I had a better answer for you, but I can get that information. I can certainly get that information for you, but I don't have it with me tonight. But this, unfortunately, you don't prepare, you're not required to prepare comparative financial statements, so we don't have that point of comparison. And
back-
really, you're looking
back
at
to
more
the
than just 2
previous
years.
reports,
You'd
yeah.
want trends.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the numbers look good, it's just like, well, how good are they within, what's the context of that number?
Exactly,
You
yeah.
know, is
And
that
our
really
main.
good? Is that great for us, or
Yeah.
is that normal for
Yeah.
us? or
And our
is
main
it
focus
less?
is, are the numbers fairly stated? And
Yeah, I
and
know.
you're looking, I understand what you're getting at. I
Yeah.
totally understand that. And I think it makes sense to ask those questions.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to take the audit results as presented, or to accept the audit results as presented.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Further discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrell?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 7B is our October financial report, and we have our finance director here to give us that report.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and Manager. On page 5 is the financial notes for October. I'll be starting on page 6. Assets on hand at the end of October were $16,929,343.93. Cash on hand, $9,479,906.74. About 3/4 of the way down the page, 24 tax receivable, we collected $375,826.23, leaving a uncollected 2024 commitment balance of $1,306,082.60. To date, we've collected 83.5. Last year at this time, we collected 83.8, so we're like 0.3% less than last year. But last month, we were ahead 4.3, so it's just a kind of a timing issue. And the line below that, we've collected $4,080.57 in prepayments in the month of October. We have a balance now of $32,207.30. On the next page to the bottom, we have the fund balance for the end of October, $10,885,410.15. Moving over to page 11, our fund balance is at $6,043,933.78. Moving over to page 13, the expenses for the month. The current month expenses was $806,055.96, and we are under budget. We're at 76%. We're under budget by 7.3%. And moving over to the revenues on page 18, our revenues for the month came in at $735,334.09. We're at year-to-date, we're at 94% of our budget, and that's 10.7% higher than our budgeted figure through October. Excise tax for the month came in at $197,169.78. Our year-to-date total is $1,533,094.65. We are now over budget by 14.3% year-to-date. Revenue sharing came in at $281,908.19. Our year-to-date collection is $2,016,952.98, and we are now over budget 15.5%, or $316,952.98. Moving over to page 23, we have the graph for the month, and this just shows our excise. And you can see that the month of October, we're at 1.97. That's almost 33,000 higher than last year's total. So people are still buying vehicles, I would say, based on this draft. That's my report. If anyone had any questions. Expenses are down, revenue's up.
Yep,
Looks
exactly.
good.
Makes
Good.
me happy. All right, what are the wishes of the council?
Make a motion to accept the financials as presented.
Second?
Motion and a second, further discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrow?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay. Item number 7C is a report by our city clerk on the November 5th, 2024 election results. Danielle.
What do you want me to say?
Well, it's right here in our packet. I guess, does anyone have any questions for Danielle on this? Or is there anything you wanted to share with us about it?
That was a crazy day.
Hmm.
Our lines were long, but there was no major problems at all. Really, Penny had to come down and talk to the media because I didn't even have time to step away for that. So it stayed smooth. I probably could have had more people working for me that day, just to direct traffic in the building. But the people that were there were very experienced and they knew their spots and they did an awesome job. So kudos to the 17 people that helped and worked at the election, because Christina and I needed them every minute they were there. That's all I have.
Well, I can say from experience that it was very well organized, and I think everybody on your team did an amazing job. So we thank you for that, because it was crazy there, for sure. It was very busy that day, so great job. All right, item number 7D is the city manager's report.
Thank you. So, starting with the riverfront power plants, the EPA is demobilizing at the steam plant. This is a circular removal project undertaken at no cost to the city. They took 11 roll-offs with 6 to 7 tons each of hazardous materials that were a threat to the public. A fact sheet can be found online, and now the brownfields project at the diesel plant can begin when they are finished demobilizing. They will also have an after-action fact sheet available too. We did submit a brownfields grant for the remaining work at the steam plant. That was submitted on Thursday. The Broadband Initiative, Charter, Spectrum, and MCA had their kickoff meeting in August. They have not had one since. I did hear from Charter that they received their first batch of pole permits, and they will build out in sections as the pole permits are approved. Consolidated is out building their Fidium fiber in Caribou with 181 miles of new fiber. The Charter Spectrum project is the last mile project. The Fidium, they're not going, it's not a last mile project. When they're laying fiber, it's to connect, they're doing a lot of it in the core, but a few years ago when they had the RDOF auction, they had some areas that they bid and were successful that were underserved. So basically what they were trying to do is to serve those that they got through the auction. That's a very confusing thing, and please don't ask me any details about it. Events and marketing, we have a full slate of events planned for Small Business Saturday, November 30th, and up until Christmas. So please see the website and social media for details. Land Bank, I spoke to Tuck O'Brien from the Maine Land Bank on November 7th. He actually works as a ballot clerk in his district in Portland. And he was saying that it was really crazy everywhere. And he said he was still tired. And that was like Thursday after the election. And So our election workers, and we also had police presence there. Of course, the rec staff were there to get the building ready. But our election workers really work hard, and they had 3 elections this past year that they had to work. The Riverfront Master Plan, the draft environmental evaluation, the environmental assessment will need to have public review for 30 days. Since there is a riverine area in the project area, the city will need to complete an 8-step review, which has been done and accepted, and it is in its 30-day review period. So we hope to have the final notice to proceed from MBRC so we can go out to bid for that master plan. Under business outreach, businesses are excited that Caribou's famous ornament hunt will be back this year. Tax acquired property is on the agenda tonight. For the police station, the CUD is working with the city and the design team to determine what infrastructure exists on site, not necessarily to reuse any lines, but to just find out what's there and just evaluate what condition different pieces of their system are. River Road, Versant is working to get the lines on the old pole moved to the new pole. Do you have any updates on that?
They moved, Versant did theirs,
Mhm.
but Spectrum and Consolidated haven't done theirs.
They haven't moved theirs. Yeah.
Been no action that I know of.
Yeah, it's been a long project.
Yeah.
I mean, literally
Years.
2018 has been that.
What, for one pole?
Well, I mean, it was a whole thing, but.
Yeah.
So at the airport, the next project is for snow removal equipment, and a scoping meeting with FAA and DOT was held on November the 15th. Age-friendly efforts, several great initiatives are taking place, including the very popular Senior Santa. So there will be a tree set up at the Wellness Center if you want to come and get an ornament off the tree to buy something for a senior in town, and those will be delivered. Personnel changes, we have several positions that are now open: assistant city clerk, an office coordinator, code enforcement, and police officer. The DOT Village Partnership Initiative staff met with the design team on November 7th. A public meeting will be held on December 19th at the Wellness Center. Aristic Waste Solutions is currently working on their 2025 budget. Cary Medical Center, I attend their meetings every month, and it's when you hear about other healthcare organizations in the state that are really struggling, it's very nice to be able to go to our meetings and know that our hospital is very financially sound. I was also at Cary Medical Center on Saturday morning. They held a meeting for the Aristic Veterans Advocacy Committee, and it was very, very well attended. There must have been 100 people there. And Counselor Smith knows, because he's gone to these meetings before too. You're lucky to get like 15 people there, and it was packed. Like, they didn't even have chairs for everybody, and they kept bringing chairs, and it was packed. They had advertised, I guess, on television. So there was people from all over. A lady standing next to me was from St. Agatha, and there were people from Holton and beyond. So those are other things that Cary Medical Center does in the community, and hosts events to reach out to different populations in our community. Of course, Caribou has a higher than average percentage of seniors and veterans, so it's nice that our hospital works to make sure that their needs are being met. So other updates, time to start everyone's most wonderful time of the year, and I don't mean Christmas. 2025 municipal budget. So I would like to have the non-union COLA adopted at the next meeting so it can be effective on January 1st, like the increases afforded to employees covered by collective bargaining agreements. And for administrative approvals, not that I have to approve this, but I would just like to say all rubbish haulers have been properly licensed. So other notes in here on page 27, Grant administration has unfortunately become a big part of my job. So the city of Caribou applied for a $4 million EPA fiscal year 25 brownfields grant for the remaining remediation of the steam plant following the CERCLA emergency removal action. I did go there on Thursday and got a tour from the EPA who were on site and their contractor, and it is a big difference. I know Councilor Smith, you were there before. I'm
I've been
trying
in
to
there.
remember.
I've been
Were
in
you
there.
in there
Yeah,
too?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think
Yeah.
Councilor Morrell was there, I mean Morrell and Morrell and Smith. And you would be so surprised to see what it looks like inside there. It looks totally different.
Really?
Yeah, just with the amount of stuff they've taken out.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot left. They were only removing things that were an immediate threat to the public. But it was a very interesting tour. The main connectivity authority project at the Caribou Public Library is entering the next phase as the director is working on putting out requests for qualifications. Unlike most grants, this one includes some funds up front. Typically, the city needs to expend funds and then request reimbursement. With the Northern Border Regional Commission grant, the 8-step document's been approved. The draft environmental assessment document was sent back again with comments, so we're working to get that resubmitted for approval. The DOT VPI, we will be having a public meeting on December 19th, and we're really going to be working hard between now and then to make sure we get people there. So this would be the second public meeting. We did not have a very big crowd at the first public meeting, and this has happened in other communities in Aroostook County that have been undergoing the DOT VPI, that they don't have big crowds. And then by the time they get ready to adopt some recommendations, everyone's like, I didn't know about this. What is going on? So
Prescott.
I wasn't going to say the name of the town, but
I've been following it.
yeah. So we really hope that people will get out and will attend the meeting. And I really hope December 19th we don't have snow. We've tried to check with the school calendar to make sure there wasn't anything on the school calendar, the city calendar. We're trying to make it easy for people to go, but we can't fool Mother Nature. This is a project that will make better pedestrian and non-motorized infrastructure to connect the downtown, the schools, the wellness center, the Caribou Mill Pond, walking paths, and the Aroostook Riverfront. The city did receive one of the high scores for the DECD Housing Opportunity Grant Program. This would be to conduct a housing study in Caribou. We are awaiting further information about moving forward with this. So on the 2025 municipal budget, the charter amendments for the city budget process as outlined in the city charter were approved at the election. And as I said before, at the December city council meeting, I'll be bringing forward a recommendation for the COLA for non-union employees. If any members of the city council have questions or suggestions, please reach out. And the 2025 organizational meeting will be on January 2nd. Volunteers are needed to serve on various boards and committees, and please reach out to the Caribou City Clerk for more details. She actually sent us our spreadsheets today with our homework, which committees need to have people reappointed. So Small Business Saturday, have a few enticements here. We have at the library, they have their baskets. They have gift cards. They've got prizes. It's a lot of fun, and it's very well supported by our local businesses. And they are also having their author stroll. So you can meet our local authors, and they will be there to talk about their books and sell their books, sign their books. We'll be having the ornaments again, and this year we're having, SW Collins is sponsoring a holiday market down in the downtown mall, and we have little buildings, and it looks like a holiday market from Europe. So I think Gary worked on that today. He's been cleaning up down there and changing out the, like the flags that we have down there. So it's gonna be really nice, and the fire department has things going on as they usually do. Again, the library will. People can actually come here to the city council chambers on Small Business Saturday to have family pictures taken. We have a local person who will be set up here taking family pictures. We have a decorating contest going on. The fire department has sleigh rides, all kinds of great things going on Small Business Saturday. And actually all the Saturdays until Christmas. We'll have different things going, so you can check that out on the website and on social media.
I think that's great. I'm really looking forward to all
Well,
these
we really
events.
just try to get people to come here and shop during the holidays, and remember to shop local. And we feel like if we can get them in town and they can see the wonderful places that we have here in Caribou, they will shop, eat, gas up their car. Maybe they'll decide to move here. Who knows? Maybe run for council. I don't know.
Run from it or run for it?
Yeah, so, yeah, we got a lot of things going on. We have a committee that really wants to bring back some of the things that they remember from when they were young going on in town. So we're working on that. A lot of fun.
Will be.
Great. If you have any information that you'd like to kind of send, just to kind of explain the COLA adjustment to the council prior to that meeting, it might be helpful just to get, so people know what they're to be thinking about. And
Great.
perfect.
On the, on your discussion with Tuck O'Brien, was there any outcome, like from that discussion in terms of recommendations or findings? I know we have some things up in the air.
I feel like they're still in the building phase
They
of
are.
what they're doing.
Okay.
And
Just wondering.
I didn't really get anything except that they're gung-ho.
Well, it was very clear when we met with them back last month or a couple months ago that they were just getting their feet under them. So
Yeah.
it probably will be a while.
Yeah.
I had another question on the personnel changes. So are we still advertising and seeking an assistant manager? That wasn't on your list. I was just wondering, are we
Well,
still pursuing an assistant manager, or have we kind of given up on that?
Well, we haven't been getting the applications.
Right.
So I guess we'll see. We're this close to budget time, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I
You
hear
know,
you.
it's November, and
Do we have candidates for some of the other positions?
we do for the code officer.
Good.
So we're working on that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I know that there isn't a formal update, but the streetlights, have we heard from RL Todd and how that's
We
coming
haven't,
along?
but I've been hearing from people in neighborhoods saying, "Where's my street light?" So
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I have,
Getting
I have
dark
been
early.
hearing, from that, and we did have RL Todd here last week, working on some issues in this building, and we got those resolved. But honestly, I was in brownfields mode at the time, and that's why I wasn't talking about streetlights that day.
Okay, maybe we can just,
But I can reach out to him, see if he has
Great.
an update.
thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else have questions for Manager Thompson? All right, thank you very much. This was an action-packed report. Okay, item number 8 on the agenda under new business ordinances and resolutions is to take a look at waivers for properties to be acquired through the automatic lien foreclosure process. This is on pages 31 and 32 of your packets.
Looking at this here, depending on, what happens, was it you, Penny, that attended the MMA convention in October?
I did not.
Well, let's
Oh,
let,
there's the man.
Yep, Carl's going to
Yeah.
kind of speak on this a little bit, and then
Okay.
he might answer some of those questions.
So generally, we acquire, or the process goes through its process, and by the end of foreclosure date, we usually acquire 20 to 30 properties. So right, the list on page 32, there's 68 on there. I suspect that half of these will get paid by next Tuesday, the 26th is the deadline. They always wait till the last minute. But from last year, we had 19 that technically went to foreclosure, or that were eligible for foreclosure, and we waived all those last year. Through 2024, 10 of those got paid. So, we're down to 9 properties that are unpaid, and the value of those is about $10,000. But to me, that's minute compared to a $9 million commitment. So like I said, I attended the MMA conference. The legal firm that presented there was Petrie and Flaherty, and they did say that the law is going to be looked at again by legislation in 2025, and they suspect that the law is going to change again. And they are recommending that municipalities waive the foreclosure again until that new law comes out. That being said, on the next page, everything in orange is trailers, and we've generally in the past have not foreclosed on trailers because we end up having to pay lot rent. So those are majority of the accounts, 28 of them. And then you have 9 that was waived last year. Out of those 9, there's like 6 that individuals have died. So it's really hard to find heirs, and no one's come forward on those properties. So it's really difficult to sell those, except, we could put a notice in the paper, and, if anyone comes forward, then we deal with them at that time. If we do sell a property, because the person's deceased, then the excess revenue goes to the unclaimed balance through the state. So we don't get that excess revenue. And then one on the list is in bankruptcy, so we have to waive that one. One building is on leased land, so technically to me, it's the same as a mobile home, because can't really take the building, we'd end up paying lease rent. And then I do have one person that's interested in buying a property, and that's the one in blue. And they've already spoken to a realtor, and I've spoken to the realtor. So if you did want to foreclose on that one, we probably could sell that one right away. But again, I'd still have to follow the law, and the law says I have to put it for fair market value with a realtor for 12 months. So the law is just, it's not friendly for blight. That's the biggest issue that they're dealing with, so that's why I think the law is going to change again.
Okay.
That was one of the questions I was going to ask is, well, how many of these are cross-referenced to our blight list? Because those are the ones I'd be interested in not foreclosing on, taking possession and getting on with cleaning it up, right? So is there any way to cross-reference those with the blight list?
I don't really know what's considered blight. I mean, I know the one on Water Street's considered blight. Me and Manager Thompson talked about the one on Herschel Street. And then I think the one, that Home Farms, but that one's been tore down, right?
Yep.
So there's been stuff tore down, but there's demolition costs that are associated with those properties now. So the sale is gonna have to be, we're gonna take a loss on those, just because the property value isn't worth demolition costs. So, I'm the manager of these properties, but you guys are the owners of the properties if we foreclose on them. So,
Well, again, I'd be interested in seeing the list of blighted properties that we need to take possession of to get cleaned up and not kick the can down the road another
Yeah.
year and do it again next year, when meanwhile we have blight all over the community that we're not doing anything about.
I'm not the blight manager
I-
though, so
I know
like, I
that.
don't know. I'm just tax collector and the foreclosure.
So I guess I'll turn to the manager. Is there any way we can get this cross-reference to your blighted list?
Probably not in the next like 5 minutes, like during the meeting, I can't. But that is something that when we had a full-time code officer and a full-time assessor, we would take this apart, but the recommendation was to waive them, so we didn't work on that. Again, Water Street is on the list. Water Street is blight. Water Street also is going to require a lot of engineering to even be able to start with the demolition process there.
Can you give me more rationale for why the recommendation to waive again? Why is MMA saying, just because the law is going to change, I mean, I don't think that's a good enough reason just to not take any action, waiting for these guys to figure out what they want to do with the law.
Yeah, so they're just saying that, the process to go through a Realtor, it's cumbersome and it's a long process. Like I said, we have to put it for fair market value for at least a year before we can reduce
Yeah.
the sale price. So it's,
So are they saying that the amendments to the law is likely to improve that situation for us?
I would say yes.
That's-
They've got a lot of feedback about, most municipalities don't feel like they can use this tool to get rid of foreclosed property. So it's,
Absolutely.
it's,
It's
it
completely
needs to be
tied our hands.
it needs to be reworked more. MMA tries to influence legislation, and they didn't listen to MMA when they developed this law. And MMA is basically saying, this tool doesn't work for municipalities, so can you bring it back? And so that's why the legal firm is saying that they anticipate the law changing to not go through this process.
Okay,
The way
that's
the
what I
law-
needed to hear. Thank you.
But going back to what Carl said a few minutes ago as well, it's actually going to potentially cost us more money if we were to not waive
Right.
these foreclosures by the time we do things under the current legislation. So that's
Absolutely.
why it would make the most
And
sense
that's
to
why I was
waive them.
asking about rationale. I
Yeah,
wanted
that's
to
what he
know,
had
are we heading in
stated.
a direction of improvement, or is it going to get worse, so, okay.
Hopefully, it would be.
Fair enough.
And to clarify, we can sell the properties they don't have to stay on the market for 12 months, they just have to stay at that fair market value price for
Right.
12 months before it can be reduced, is that correct?
But most of these properties are borderline blight,
Right.
and people aren't gonna pay fair market value.
No.
So you're basically taking them without anybody actually coming forward and trying to
So
buy
are these
them.
realtors not considering fair market value as, they're not taking that into consideration when they're pricing these properties? I mean, shouldn't they be considering that?
Yes and no. I personally don't think there's gonna be a lot of realtors interested in selling blight property. So there's another hiccup.
Yeah.
And then what's fair market value on a blighted property? I mean, a lot of it is,
I mean, probably the lot, whatever the lot is worth is my guess, but
Just a couple things, I think in the past, just what Councilor Bagley brought up, in the past, we have seen, has been brought to the council, what was a potential blighted property on this list, so that's not something new.
Nope, it isn't.
No,
Like I
I'm-
said, when we have full-time code
Yeah,
enforcement and
yes,
full-time assessor,
absolutely.
like I used to spend days
Yeah.
getting that ready
Getting that
for
ready.
this. But again, if the recommendation,
Is to waive.
why would I, never mind.
No, I
You know.
understand what you're saying
Yeah, I'm just
100%.
saying, It's
Yeah.
been brought to us before, so it's not something new. And then the mobile homes, we typically, those are personal property, so we would have no reason to foreclose on those anyway. Correct?
Well, they're taxed
no,
as
they're
real
taxed.
estate.
But they're on leased land, so
Mhm.
if we acquire them, we have to pay lot rent
Yeah, so we've, okay, yep.
or remove them at a cost.
Exactly.
So,
And then can we really remove them when maybe we would have to list them for sale for a year?
there's a lot of,
Remove half of them.
Do we
No,
have
they
to
fall apart.
re-waive
They
the
fall apart.
2023 waived properties?
Yes.
Okay, so we're looking at orange and yellow. Well, actually, if we waive all of them, we can just say all of them, right?
Yeah, you can move the slate.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion, we move the slate.
Second that.
You have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
I want to keep talking about it for a second.
Thank you.
I just, thank you. My mind is not wrapping around this. My background is in real estate. That was what I did for a living for a lot of years. So doing market analysis on properties, I would have taken into consideration all these factors when I was pricing a property. So I would have not taken a property that was to be torn down and said that that was value of that property was the same as an equivalent property. I would have reduced the property value or said it was worth the lot price. So my thinking on this is, why wouldn't we want them to put that on the rolls and get rid of that property and then enforce that somebody that's taking that property and purchasing the property is going to do what they need to do. If it's a blighted property, they need to clean it up. Because otherwise we have these properties that aren't being paid for. They're sitting on these tax rolls not being paid for, and we have people that are not caring for them. So wouldn't it be better to have a realtor put it on the market for fair market value, whatever it actually is worth, sell it for that price? I don't care if that means giving a check back to somebody for $5,000 and then insisting that the buyer has to clean that property up if that's what it means.
Wouldn't it require an appraisal? I mean, I'm thinking the only way you can set
Well, I
fair
would
market
assume
value.
it's a CMA.
Pardon?
I would assume that's a CMA, like it's just going to be like I don't know if they're requiring that. I don't know what the law is requiring from these realtors when they set the price. I mean, like I wasn't required to do that. I did it for lenders all the time. They would ask for a broker's price opinion and they would pay me $50, and that's what I would do. So I don't know if the realtors here are allowed to do that, and they're just making their price based on that, or if they have to actually have an appraiser done.
I think it's something you have to look at the law.
But I think that if that's something that the realtors here are able to do within the confines of the law, I think that we should start letting them put these properties on the market if that's what needs to
So
be
which
done.
one
I
from-
think
Heard
that-
they don't want to do it.
I mean, they're getting a commission.
Well, we have
I don't know
not.
why a
But-
commission is a commission.
I think the concern too is with the way the legislation is right now, it could end up costing us a lot of money if we were to acquire the property. So if they're changing that legislation sometime in this next year to make it easier for municipalities to deal with blighted properties, it might be a good idea to wait until the new legislation is passed, or at least see if it's going to pass, and then we can certainly revisit this next year under new legislation.
How is it costing us money, though? That's the question I have.
I think that there are costs associated, if there's any demolition that we have to do. If we foreclose on the properties, then any cleanup that needs to be done, we might be responsible for doing that. And then we also have to pay back any excess money that is received if we sell the property. So we
But
might
we
end
get
up.
recouped first before they get the money or
Yes, we
refunded.
get back,
Yes.
we get back taxes.
Yes.
So,
But
but if we
demolition-
demolition
But-
or
Yeah,
demolish a property, we would get paid before they would get excess money, correct?
Right,
Well-
but on property that's demolition, there's no way you're gonna get a quarter-acre lot for
Yeah,
$25,000,
potentially,
and
no. Yeah, no.
that's about what demolition costs, about $20,000 on a.
So
on
we're
a
taking a
property.
little bit of risk, but we're still cleaning up the city. I mean, how many of these properties are we talking? And I mean,
lot. And I think it's a lot of risk. If we can see legislation move through that's going to make it easier for municipalities to deal with blight, which it sounds like that's what MMA is suggesting, it might be in our best interest to wait and see what that looks like. Because as Carl said too, I mean, last year, I think we were, 10 of the people did come in and pay. So,
Right.
I mean, over, half of the people came in and paid theirs off. So I don't think we're getting a bad return on this when we waive the foreclosures, because I think a good portion of the people are coming in and paying what they owe. So, as he said, $10,000 on a $9 million debt, it's not horrible.
The other thing is, when I went to a training in March in Bangor, I asked the question about if we have a blighted property that needs to be torn down, is that an allowable expense? And of course, lawyers say, well, you could make a case for that. They never say, like, yes, you could recoup the costs of demolition. Because the law reads that you can recoup any costs to maintain the property, like in a safe manner. So, you know, you can put some locks on it, you can fix a window or something, but I could not get a straight answer if demolition was a cost that we could add to what our costs were, our reasonable costs for a thing. I don't know if a property would need an appraiser, you know, an appraisal from a licensed general appraiser. If so, my experience with working with appraisers is that they would put on it a hypothetical condition that it was in a saleable condition of the property, and that they wouldn't take into consideration if there were code violations or, you know, something hazardous on the property. So then you would have to say, okay, well, if I know that so the hypothetical condition is that it's saleable, but I know for a fact that it's really not saleable because there's conditions that exist at the property, contrary to what we're stating for the appraisal, because the appraiser doesn't have the expertise to determine the exact costs for any kind of remediation, or because once the city takes something, we have to go and have like lead-based paint tests for everything. Like, it becomes like a municipal building at that point. So if you have someone that's just living in a property or owns a property, they don't have to take the steps that the city has to take to tear something down.
That's exactly what I was just going to bring up, because I knew somewhere in that legislation for tax acquired properties, the city did have to go through a more rigorous process in
Yeah.
order to be able to sell a property than
And-
the average
yeah.
person would have to do.
I don't know if
Also-
that answers your questions or not, but
It gives me a lot more information, for sure.
I'm looking at this list too, and 25 of these are mobile homes in parks. And I think it must be out on the motel that burned. Is that where those are?
Some's behind
most of
there.
them?
I think some of these would be,
They're 57.
yeah, you can see
some
over
maybe-
here
Access
kind of the
highway, yeah.
address.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got like
They're
this
mostly
group
on the
here.
same.
A
And
lot of these are in
you, you can't sell those.
No.
You'd have to
Most of them aren't even livable.
destroy them, no.
Exactly.
And also, I don't know if we own the land, does the city own the
No.
land?
No.
No.
So
No.
you're kind
No.
of,
You can see in this column here, like you have a value of a lot of those
Right.
of like $500 and $1,000. They're basically priced as sheds because
Right.
they're not.
livable.
They have value and use to store things for the
Right.
property owner, but there's not a lot of value there for habitability.
So that wouldn't be worth taking at all. And we made a policy several years ago that we
Yeah.
would not do that.
Right. Because there was a situation several years ago when I was working in code enforcement where there were some mobile homes that were taken at Westgate Trailer Park,
Right.
Westgate Villa, and the property owner wanted the city to start paying rent, and Public Works had to go out there and dismantle those units and get them to the dump.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, if I remember correctly, in the past, when we would sell
I drive by them all the time to go to work.
tax acquired properties, if we made any money, quote unquote, you know, if they sold them and made $10,000, that money was go into the, supposedly, to go for blight removal for the other properties that we,
Blight removal.
blight removal. it was-
Yeah, a percentage of it went
A
to blight
percent.
removal, and
That's
then the
what-
rest went to
I guess,
tax relief for the next commitment.
this way, the way this is, legislation is, there's no incentive for, whether we talk about blight or not. If the home is occupied, I want to use that as an example. So if we waive foreclosure, you don't have to pay your taxes, and we're not going to kick you out. And if we do take it, we're basically going to sell it for you, and we do all the legwork.
Right.
So it's really a,
And we could incur costs in the process.
and we can get those costs back, but we're doing all the legwork.
Well, if
for
you
them.
Now-
collect enough money.
And that's
if
the risk.
Whoever decides to take this to
Probably won't.
court determines, yes, you can take, that's an allowable cost, or this isn't an allowable cost. This hasn't been taken to court yet, so we
Hasn't
don't
been
really
tested.
know what is going to be like an allowable cost. I mean, as Mr. Grant has said, in the past, this was an excellent tool for municipalities to deal with blight.
Absolutely.
It was a clean process. The city did not need to, because it was an automatic process, there wasn't a positive action that we had to take to have these properties. And as such, we did not have to conduct all appropriate inquiries if we were going to apply for funding to clean something up. So it was a good process. The state has taken that tool away from us, unfortunately.
And that's why I made that one of my priorities.
Yep.
Remember correctly.
Everyone's priority was blight. I mean,
Well, tax
that-
acquired property,
Yeah,
and
and
which goes with
this is, yeah, this is something that everyone on the council agrees that we need to work on, and it's just so unfortunate that the state has taken away this tool.
Absolutely.
Well, hopefully that's going to change, so
We
Yeah.
hope.
we can hope. Okay, so we have a
Well,
motion and a second. Do we have further discussion on this?
Yeah, I was just gonna pick up on something that the manager said about this. This hasn't been tested. And so as we've discussed this, I'm becoming more and more uncomfortable with approving the entire slate. I'd like to maybe consider, waiving those ones in, orange, the trailer parks, the ones on leased land. The ones that are going into bankruptcy, the one that
You
is
can't
a
do the one in
potential.
bankruptcy. I mean, we
What's
have
that?
to, oh, yeah, we have
That's
to
what I
waive
said.
that one, yeah.
Yeah, we have to waive
that
those.
one.
I'd like to see kind of maybe a more surgical thing, and then I would like to see us test the law. We're all sitting around here talking about what all might happen, and we don't know what's gonna happen because we just don't know, and it hasn't been tested, so
Dan,
I think
we
if
don't know
we,
the legal fees and what it's gonna cost to test the law, what it's gonna cost us taxpayers to do that.
yeah, we don't know
No,
that.
we don't.
This is actually a federal law too, if I remember
Well, it was the
studying the.
Supreme Court.
Supreme
It's
Court,
been
this was
Supreme
a
Court.
federal Supreme Court
Yeah.
ruling. And it dealt with an elderly woman's property in Florida that, got sold and big money, whatever. So that's the problem. I mean, if it was a state issue, it'd probably be different, but
Right.
the cost to go for a little community to try to, we can only hope that our legislators, okay, God love them, okay? And I think if everybody's behind us, especially MMA and everybody, then, hey, wait and see.
No one is really disputing that a taxpayer shouldn't get proceeds if they sell
Right.
it. No one is disputing
Right,
that.
right.
The problem is that the state has made it such, has made the process so complicated.
Correct.
That's where the issue is with the process that the state has laid out, not with as is typical, it's all good thoughts behind it. It's just, it's made it so cumbersome to deal with.
Can I
And I
ask a
think-
question about property 3117 where there's a $15,000 balance due? That's a huge amount.
I have a feeling that one probably we have demolition expenses there.
That's Sweden Street.
Got you.
Okay.
That, is it Prospect, 15 Prospect or no?
63 Sweden Street.
Oh, that's a different, it's the one down on Sweden Street, that we,
Yeah.
Across
Oh.
from Cindy's or whatever.
I got you, across from Cindy's, okay.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
yeah.
Is it police?
No, it's nothing to do with that I
There's
thought
not,
it
is
was.
it? Okay.
No,
So
it's a
if
different-
this-
That's just someone not paying their taxes.
So if this motion fails, I will move to waive the vast majority of them that I just described, and that will leave basically the white ones that we can work with and see how we can do with those.
I mean, I would.
That's what I'd like to do.
I would see, if there wasn't a little glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel, and we didn't think there was potentially something coming forward with new legislation, hey, maybe test it on one, but I don't think it's fair to the taxpayers for us to do an experiment, basically, not knowing what the legislation's gonna look like, when we know going into it that there's a good chance that the city's gonna be on the hook for some money if we do. I don't think that's, especially with the tax increases we've had to have in the last year, and where we might be going next year with our budget, I don't think it's a good time to be doing experiments with
Okay, well, I
property,
don't consider it
personally.
an experiment.
You
and I
just
don't-
called it an experiment a couple minutes
And I
ago.
don't think that we necessarily will incur costs because we haven't looked at them. They're all going to be on a case-by-case basis. My only point is waiving the entire slate, I think, for some reason, I think that is not responsible to the taxpayers either because our top priority is blight.
We were
And
$10,000
we're
short
doing
last year.
nothing
We were
for
$10,000 short last year out of that based on the properties we waived. It's going to cost us probably more than $10,000 to deal with one of these properties. So
I
to
don't-
me, until they change the legislation, it's not worth it,
And I
to
don't
me.
see-
But anyways, we do
And I don't see any
have
data on that. So,
They'll come
anyway, that's
back.
where I'm at.
They'll come back on the rolls again next year.
Yes.
And if by then the law has been changed, then we'll take it.
exactly.
But they're not gonna go
Oh,
away
I know
unless
what
they pay their taxes.
I've got the list now. I just
And-
have it so that if they wanted me to bring
And
up
half
an
of them
account,
did, so.
I can show you what
Yeah.
what
But
the
anyhow.
I
property
got a quick
looks like.
question on it. Well, we're talking about what this could potentially cost. What we need to do is we don't need to waive all these foreclosures. Maybe on the mobile homes, yes, because that's been, they're not ours, they're personal property, whatever, on leased land. There's no, we just have a different way to dispose of these properties than we did before. We used to put them out to bid. And we'd lose money, make money, whatever. So we need to hire a realtor and follow the process. And I
See
don't
what
see
we
where
can
that
do
would
with
cost
it.
us any money. I don't know the word experiment. I don't know necessarily experiment with one property. But with all of them, we just follow the trail that's been set by the state. So I don't see where this could potentially cost us.
This is a good
Money.
tool, if I can interject.
You go
This is a
first,
good,
please.
this is a good tool for the coastal Maine,
Mm-hmm.
where the values of properties are sky high.
Yep.
And they're not paying their taxes because they can't afford to pay them, or they get into a hardship.
Mm-hmm.
And there's value in those properties. For Royal Maine like us, it's not worth it.
I think it's just going to put us in a bind and cost us more money than it's worth to mess with
Let's
these at
get
this
it.
point, and let's see what happens with the new legislation.
Right, they're not gonna run away.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
What was the motion?
To waive
I make a
the
motion to
slate.
move the
Move the
table.
slate.
Are we not excluding the blue one that has the pending sale or that has the sale agreement? Do you
Well, I
want
think
us
we have to exclude that because it's going through bank, is that the one going through bankruptcy?
No, I think we
No.
just, it
Oh.
it would be included in the
Yeah.
slate.
He's saying everything.
Yeah, it
everything
would
will
be
waived.
included in the slate.
Everything.
I think we would have to include it.
Okay, so were you suggesting that we sell or keep that one in for foreclosure so that that one can be sold because you have a
I'm not
deal?
making any
You're not making any
recommendation, except
recommendations.
for my recommendation is what MMA said was
I got you.
to waive them. I mean,
If
we
we
can,
leave that
I
one
can
on, it has to
definitely,
sit at that fair market price for 12 months.
Well, there's a deal on that property is what he had told
I
us
think
on
that they can still have a deal, though, if we waive foreclosure, they can still have their deal. Can they not?
well, the party happens to be deceased. So,
No, we have to take the
the
property.
guy that wants to buy it is looking at us as the third party, but
Gotcha.
because there's nobody representing the deceased,
The deceased.
but that's not our issue.
Right.
I
Nope.
mean, if we foreclose on it, then it becomes our issue.
Right. Okay. So we have our motion and our second. Bagley?
No,
Kelly?
I
Lovewell?
don't know. No.
Morrell?
Aye.
Smith?
Absolutely no.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 8B is the Maine Paid Family Medical Leave Program mandatory employee participation information. And that's on page 33 of your packet.
Okay, so I have quite a bit of information in the packet that's provided by the Department of Labor. On July 11th, 2023, Maine Governor Janet Mills signed a paid family and medical leave program into law. The program provides wage replacement benefits to eligible private and public sector workers who will be able to take up to 12 weeks of family and medical leave for reasons such as illness and the birth of a child. The program is funded by employer and employee premium payments remitted to the state that begin January 1, 2025, and will be equal to 1% of wages. Starting in 2028, the Maine Department of Labor will set the premium for the coming calendar year, but it will be set at 1% for 25, 26, and 27. Claims will be processed starting May 1st, 2026. The Maine Department of Labor will be providing more guidance in 2025. So I guess you read that right. We have to start doing something. We don't even have the full guidance on this law.
That's right.
Which happens all the time. Employers with 15 or more employees may deduct up to 50% of the premium required for an employee from the employee's wages. You may recall that this new mandate was cited as a reason for the budget increase at the RSU and the county. According to the finance director, his estimate of the city's 2025 payroll is $4.8 million, so a 1% premium would be equal to $48,000. My recommendation for 2025 is that the city pay the full 1% premium, and I will answer whatever questions you have. Some communities are doing the full 1% for this first year. Some are charging the employees the 0.5%. It's very difficult because we have collective bargaining agreements. So there is concern about going back to unions who don't have this in their contract already. And it's also, and actually, if your union's collective bargaining agreement was in effect in October 2023 and you haven't renegotiated, they can't even be covered on this plan until they renegotiate.
But it's a mandate. It's a mandate on
It is
all
a
of us. So
it's a
I have no
mandate.
sympathy for that point, you know? It's a
just
mandate
saying.
on us. We don't want to do this, right? So.
But we have to.
We have to do
We have
this.
to.
So I mean, I would like to see the 0.5% kept. I think the employee should pay a share of this. It's a mandate on all of us. The city should not bear the entire burden of this.
And
That's
you
my
can, you
opinion.
can make that motion.
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
I'm
yes.
giving you my opinion.
Yes,
You know,
gotcha.
that's all. You asked me for my opinions, and that was my
And
opinion.
we appreciate them
Yeah.
very much. Yep.
So is it fair to say that the folks in the RSU are going to have the 1% covered under,
I don't know what the RSU is doing.
well, just because it was cited as a reason for.
That was cited as a reason for their budget increase. I mean, they would still have to pay even, 0.5% is an increase in their budget. The county is doing the 0.5% that the county's paying. 0.5% will be paid by their employees, and they have already been hearing that they have unions that are going to be coming after them for that. So we'll see. I mean, different communities are doing things different ways.
So well, I guess this is kind of I'll ask it right now. I mean, approximately 2/3 of our budget, last I knew, was labor, payroll. We must be above that now with raises. Is that something
I don't
we can
have
get-
the
No, I don't need it. It's
exact
just before,
percentage, but-
maybe before the next meeting, you can just let
Yep.
me know what that percentage is.
Yep, sure can. I mean, I can
It's
email
just,
it to you.
Or email it to all of us, because you talked about the RSU, they were at like 80,
Yeah, theirs is even
85%.
higher, yeah.
So you only have, I know we've done some raises with some of our staff. And where's that number falling in? That's
For 2025.
for 2025. So that's,
I move that the city of Caribou pay 50% of the 1% MFML premium for the 2025 budget year.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
So just so I'm clear, okay, about the collective bargaining groups, okay? You said something about, okay, if they had negotiated before 2023, was it?
October 2023.
Okay, so if they hadn't negotiated before that, then they're not eligible for that.
For this whole program.
Right, okay, I just wanted to, but since most of ours have all renegotiated, okay, so now they are eligible.
2 of our unions will
Right.
not be.
There's 4 unions,
Yeah.
2 are gonna be qualified, 2 aren't.
Okay,
Okay. That's,
Further discussion?
So if the city doesn't pay the full 1%, is that where you're stating that if they have to take it out of the employees, that's where the union's gonna come after? Is that what they're saying? Is
Yes.
if they take any money out of the employees, the union's gonna come
Right, if
after?
it's not in their collective bargaining agreement. Yeah.
Would this just be in effect for 1 year? Or
Yeah.
would
Oh, yeah, no,
would
this
it
is
be
1 year.
renegotiated when you renegotiate their contract?
Yes, yeah.
So this is just a 1-year plan?
Yep. I mean, and every year, I
That's
mean, you
good.
could decide what you're gonna do every year.
Okay.
It's just, we have to start making deductions for
Okay.
next
So
year.
we can change, we can change this next year.
Yep. if you want to.
So
You
we
could
could-
change it at budget time.
Right,
for
we
that
could,
matter.
we could pay the 1% right now, just to keep the unions at bay, and then change everything when it comes time to do.
Mhm.
I think that's a better idea.
Yeah, I do too.
Mhm.
I
Yep.
do too.
I mean, it might be a little bit of a bite right now, but it'll keep the peace for when we come to negotiate
And we
again.
get our head on
Yeah.
straight with
Yeah.
everything that
So
needs
it's
to be done.
estimated to be an additional cost of 24,000.
So,
that's really
so can I follow up on that? I'm trying to understand your point. So the 1%, you're saying the city pays the whole 1%, and that, for those unions who do not have it in their contract, they will not have it in their contract and then until they
Correct.
renegotiate.
Correct.
Well, 2 of them are going to negotiate.
Correct.
And how does that holding them at bay if we're giving them
Two of them are gonna
the,
get charged. because
what's that?
2 of the contracts are gonna get charged because they were after October 23.
Right.
So it's those 2
Their
unions that
contracts
could
are
potentially,
closed. They're
I
done.
understand. So,
So basically, 2 are being favored and 2 aren't. So her point is wait until they all go to renegotiation so everybody gets treated the same.
And then we can negotiate it in fairly.
but once it's negotiated, we're not gonna be able to step back from the 1%. We're committing.
No, just
no,
for the
we're
first
committing
year.
for this
Just
year.
the first
For
year.
the first year.
this changes
Just 1
every
You
year.
think
year.
they're gonna agree to that?
They're gonna, well, I
Well, it
mean,
says for the 2025 budget years, it's right
The
here.
unions won't agree to that. They're gonna want it.
Bargaining chip.
You're basically you're basically making a concession right up front that you're not gonna be able to take back once you get into negotiations. So,
Well, they didn't get it in the first place.
exactly.
Yep, we do. Motion and second. So Bagley,
Aye.
Kelly,
no.
Lovewell,
No.
Morrow,
No.
Smith,
Aye.
Terrio.
No.
No, motion fails.
So if you want the 1%, somebody should move that.
Make a motion to pay the full 1%,
Correct. Then.
yep, MFML premium for the 2025 budget year.
Second?
You have a motion and a second. Discussion? Bagley,
No.
Kelly,
Aye.
Lovewell,
Aye.
Morrow,
Aye.
Smith,
No.
Terrio.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item number 9 is reports and discussion by mayor and council members. I will start with Councilor Bagley this evening.
Nothing except there's a development meeting this week on Wednesday that I'll be attending. It's an early morning meeting at 7 in the morning. So I'll have a report on that meeting next time.
Great. Councilor Lovewell?
Kind of tired tonight, but I'm very excited about the Christmas activities like I discussed last week or last month. We weren't here last week. Yeah,
Whenever that was.
Yeah, whenever I was here last, whenever we were here last. Yeah, I think we've got a lot of fun things planned for downtown Christmas in Caribou. So I hope we have a good attendance and people bring their families and their friends and invite people from outside the area to come and join and just hope to see everybody. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Councilor Smith?
I'd just like to thank everybody who, the 2,000 plus citizens who voted to reelect me for 3 more years. Look forward to serving.
Thank you.
I don't have anything, but thank
Nothing.
you.
Well, no, I just want to point out, welcome our.
Oh, yeah, welcome,
council-elect.
yeah, welcome, Paul.
Yes,
Welcome,
welcome.
Paul.
Thanks for joining us tonight.
Congratulations.
I would just like to say that the winter sports season is upon us for Caribou Athletics. So any of you who are interested in supporting some of our student athletes, just check out those schedules, maybe get to a basketball game or ski meet or something like that. Pretty exciting for those students to have people there to support them.
And we get emails, emails now from Evan. I do.
Yeah.
From the city, so
Yeah, for sure.
it's kind of helpful.
It is nice. Yep. Yep, for sure.
So what are they gonna ski on?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet.
They're going to be doing a lot of
coming,
running
though.
right now.
It's gonna come.
Country year round.
Our next regular meeting will be December 16th, 2024. We do have some executive sessions here on the agenda. So that concludes the regular part of our meeting this evening. Thank you for joining us.
We're gonna know how our council-elect
I don't know.
traditionally have, but
I think sometimes we have, sometimes we haven't.
Madam Mayor,
Yeah.
I make a motion that we go in executive session for handling or property abatement pursuant to 36 MRSA, Chapter 841, Section 2E.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrow?
Aye.
Smith?
Fine.
Terrio? Aye, motion carries. All right, we'll take a 5-minute break.